People of Reddit who work in a casino, what's some of the saddest moments you witnessed? Tell us what was your favorite story in the comments, and if you also have a story to share, leave it in the comments below. Let's get right into the video. I worked at a casino as a dealer through college. A lot of incidents were pretty sad, especially with regulars that you liked. One regular would tell me about his middle school age kids, and then I would realize the next week or so later that he was missing their school plays / recitals etc. because he was at the tables. I remember working an overpass one Christmas Eve and begging him to go home when 6/7 AM rolled around because his kids would be up and opening presents. Other times just people screaming at you for stealing their mortgage payments from them that month. Then seeing them back again the next day. Geez, that's really depressing. Are you allowed to encourage people to leave the tables, or are you told not to do that? It's a really murky area for sure. This was in the UK circa 2002 to 2006. During training, we were told we could offer leaflets about gambling addiction to customers we thought had a problem, but that it was a delicate issue best left to pit bosses and managers who were also on the floor. One time a guy who was always on the machines asked me for help, and I showed him the materials we had, and then he got really angry with me for suggesting he had a problem, so I didn't try that again. The Christmas Day guy though, I begged him to leave, not as a dealer in a casino, but as a person who'd had an absentee father during childhood. He just wouldn't. During my 8-hour shift, a gentleman won $15,000 on a slot machine, punched out at end of shift, and had the next 2 days off. Returned to work after my weekend to find the man still sitting at the same slot machine. He had been there for 2+ days losing $15,000. If you win that much money, pretty much have the mentality in which you will never win this much again. I live next to Atlantic City, and when I'm up like $50 I walk out of the casino and play in the ocean for a few hours. I always feel as if the casino paid me to have a fun beach day. Yup. Won 5 figures recently and got the fuck out of there as soon as they handed me the check. Best decision I ever made. We used to have a woman who would be on the blackjack tables for 5 days / nights straight. Her husband would call and tell her that her kids wanted her home. Her boss actually came to the casino to try and get her to leave. She was missing work. I don't know what happened to her, but she's probably ruined her life. We also had a few regulars commit suicide and a few go to jail. How did she still have a job if she was regularly missing weeks of work though? A very kind, sympathetic boss. The kind of boss that visits you in the casino to get you to come back. It's been about 15 years, but I worked in one for about 4 years. The one that stands out was a woman who came from the country to the big city to get Xmas gifts for the whole family, including young kids who still believed in Santa and all of that, but spent all of the Christmas money at the casino before going to the mall. Also, a few years later I went back to visit, and when talking to one of the pit bosses about who was still there and whatnot, she told me one of my old regulars, who was actually nice and likable, a rare trait in that business, had recently committed suicide as a result of gambling too much. Addiction is a horrible disease. Former valet at a casino. The amount of daily regulars who drove barely functioning vehicles full of trash, roaches, and rats who would actually valet their car and go gamble away any money they had to their name was honestly depressing. The saddest I remember was a 90+-year-old lady who drove a 91 Corolla, and when we got in her car we realized she had no power steering fluid at all, and her steering wheel would barely turn. I have no earthly idea how her frail arms could turn it. We went and bought her some before she left that evening. That was really nice of you to do. Until the 90-year-old woman jerks herself into the next lane. Going from no power steering fluid to having it is a crazy change. My mom works as a dealer at a casino and has told me multiple stories of grown men wearing adult diapers at the table so they don't have to leave to use the restroom. I can't even imagine how shitty it must feel to walk back to your room in a fully loaded diaper after losing over $5,000. I'd imagine they're feeling pretty pissed. In general, people who come for the first time and are super nice and friendly, they don't care about winning or losing much, just came to have fun. They come back a few more times, then after a few years they're regulars that don't smile anymore, they don't laugh, they don't count their wins, just their losses, and sweat every calm point they earn, and act like gambling is their job now, and the focus of their life. I've seen more than one person have this happen to them. The other saddest thing is, when a regular stops coming in, and their spouse comes out, and tells us they passed. We are almost family with some of our regulars and it hurts to get that news. My favorite regulars were the sweet little old couple. They'd come in a couple times a week, and unlike a lot of regulars they just came to have fun for a few hours. They didn't spend much, and were happy, whether they won or lost. If I was there they'd always specifically come to me. They really did feel like family. About a year ago they just stopped coming. I have no way of knowing why. I really do miss them, and hope they are okay. We had to evacuate, and close down for the rest of the day due to a burst pipe causing no running water. When I walked outside there was an elderly lady throwing a legit tantrum in the parking lot. She was on the ground kicking and screaming. Her screams sounded like something you'd expect from someone who'd just lost a family member, not someone who had to leave the casino for a few hours. I left, but some of the security who were dealing with her told me later she was too upset to drive home, and they had to call a family member to pick her up. I've seen some shit. A lot of what others have commented is fairly common, but this was definitely the most messed up. Sheesh. It's literally an addict in withdrawal. I don't work in a casino, but live near Atlantic City. Seeing unattended children playing near the entrance to the casino floor, where children aren't allowed. You brought your kids to a casino, where kids aren't allowed, and just left them in a hallway. I went to a casino for the first time a few years ago with a group for my mother-in-law's birthday. There were signs everywhere stating that it is a crime to leave children unattended in your car in the parking lot. Pretty freaking sad. Sadder when you think about how many times it had to happen before they put up a sign. Grandmother, mother, and daughter heading to the casino by car from 2 hours away. Mother had a postcard to get a free cast iron pan for showing up. Daughter is more than 8 months pregnant. 1 hour away from the casino, daughter starts to have labor pains. Mother won't stop and take her to the hospital. She's gotta have that $10 pan. They arrive at the casino an hour before the promotion was going to start. Mother raises all hell trying to get her pan, but the workers for the promo haven't arrived yet. Daughter ends up having to be transported by ambulance to the hospital, all over a $10 pan. Worked in a casino for about 7 years, and the one that has always stuck with me was when a kid, 18 over 19, came with his friends and lost $100 playing blackjack. Then he was sitting there, looking dejected and watching his friends win. He left and came back with another $100. I could tell from the way he was acting he probably didn't have the original $100 to lose, so he definitely couldn't afford to lose another $100. So I asked if he was sure he wanted to play. He nodded his head and solemnly said yes. Unfortunately he lost that money too. $200 is a lot better than what I've read so far. Hopefully he learned something that day. I lost $40 in 5 minutes on my 18th birthday. Haven't been back to a casino since. I don't understand the draw. If you've made it to this part of the video, write in the comments, I lost my cat. If you're hearing this message, it means you're a true OG. Come part of the family by smashing that subscribe button. Now, let's continue. Not a casino worker, but I know of a guy who sold his car to a loan shark/pimp after losing $80,000 in 2 days. He even went to the DMV and transferred the title to a prostitute. Then when he got out of his fog, he used his spare key and found the car. He took it. He was pulled over for driving a stolen vehicle. Not sure how his court case went. Not a casino, but a charity poker room at a bowling alley where I was a dealer. Guy was pretty drunk and just so bad at poker. Kept losing the maximum buy-in, $300, and would go straight to the ATM and rebuy. With every rebuy the desperation became greater and greater. I just wanted to tell him to pack it up before he lost more, but that would have probably cost me my job. Eventually I think he must have emptied his bank account. I had never seen someone lose so much money in one night. I was on a cruise when I was 18. First time gambling on a casino and learning a little blackjack. I was at the $10 minimum. I think maximum was $300 table and was betting the minimum each hand. The guy across the table was drunk and betting the maximum each hand. I watched him split, double down, and lose over and over and over. He just kept making stupid calls and must have lost $20k in about 15 minutes. I did casino security for 3 years before I became a police officer. Had a code M, medical, early one morning, around 4 or 5 am. Old guy in his 80s passed out and fell out of his chair, wife sitting next to him. I was the first to get to him, did a quick assessment, and found he didn't have a pulse. Immediately started CPR. The old lady looked over and said, "Oh, he does this all the time. Don't worry about him." Between chest compressions, I told her he wasn't breathing and she just kept playing her a lot machine. She didn't miss a spin, even when the paramedics took him away. I saw her again the next night and asked how he was doing. With the straightest face ever, she said, "Oh, he never woke up. I'm sure he's in a freezer by now," and went right back to the same machine she was playing the night before. I wasn't a casino employee, but I was an EMT in a certain beach town on the East Coast that could be described as bargain bin Vegas. On a given shift we would probably field 3 or 4 casino calls, more in the summer. It was pretty soul crushing. Most calls were alcohol related or obvious slip and fall scams, but occasionally we would happen upon some real tragedies. Suicide attempts, odds, rapes, assaults happened with depressing frequency. This one sticks with me the most though. One day we had a call for a woman in her 70s sitting at the slots experiencing chest pain around 2 am. She refused treatment despite being in bad shape. We pleaded and begged and even had the on-call cardiologist talk to her on the phone, but she was on a streak and wouldn't hear it. An hour later we were back doing CPR. She died right there in front of the same slot machine, with a receipt for $7 in winnings. Super fucked. The amount of employees we had to treat for exhaustion or diabetic related emergencies due to them not having enough breaks to manage their blood sugars was also super fucked. Fuck that town. The most depressing shifts I ever did as a medic were when I had the casino shift. I only covered it a few times, but damn was it depressing getting there at the start of my shift and seeing people lined up in the morning just waiting for the doors to open. There were these 2 middle-aged Greek or Cypriot ladies who were always on the slot machines. Every day when I started my shift they were there and they were there when I finished 10 hours later. And still there in the same clothes the next day oftentimes. They were super nice and always polite to the staff. One day they hit the jackpot and win big. I think it was either £15k or £45k. It was a good few years ago now. Everyone was overjoyed for them, except the managers obviously. Well, the managers then gave them free meals at the restaurant and an open bar tab until every single penny of that money was clawed back into the casino. Standard operating procedure. Winners who are signed up for casino memberships get mailed free stays and other various freebies to keep them returning to the casino. My old roomie went to Vegas to party. She gambled for kicks, but knew better to treat it as fun, not a monetary risk. We'd laugh when we got the casino freebies sent to our mail in Canada. Guys, that is all for the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe. Tell us what your favorite story was, and if you also have a story, leave it in the comments.